Talking with the experts.
Jenae Spry discusses personal productivity and time management strategies for business owners, including working from home strategies in episode 327.
So you mentioned one of them, which is money, but you also need company mapping, a system for that. And a lot of people think just getting a mission statement down or kind of something along those lines is like, okay, check mark, done. But a lot of times people often actually, I have to ask people like, what's your mission statement? They forget. And just having a mission statement, it doesn't necessarily like mean that you really have a company map together. So, and having an actual system means that you're looking at it on a regular basis and that you're using it as a filter and a litmus test for every single thing you do in your business. Is this aligned with my company map? Is that aligned with my company map? And then
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. So please, on YouTube, click the subscribe button so that you get notified every time a new episode is uploaded. Today, my guest is Jenae Spry, and she's from Doer Entrepreneurs, and we're going to be discussing productivity and systems. And Jenae is a productivity and systems strategist, and she helps small business owners, whether they're solopreneurs or have already built a team, to prevent burnout, continue to grow their businesses, and protect their work-life balance through productivity and systems. Welcome, Jenae, and thank you so much for joining me today.
thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
How did you get to become a productivity and systems strategist?
Yeah, great question. So I actually started off as the owner of a translation agency. So, and I was really enjoying growing that business, but I just thought I was doing what everybody would just naturally do to grow a business. And it turns out that it was a little bit less common than I thought. So my business was growing quite well, largely due to my productivity and system strategies. And so I started being asked by, colleagues and other people in my industry at the beginning and then outside, just kind of like, how are you doing this? Like, are you working 24/7? Like, do you sleep? And I'm like, I'm working like 4 or 5 hours a day, actually. Like, and so they basically kept asking me, they wanted to know more. And so in a way, I just sort of fell into it. And I really realized that my passion was really in helping entrepreneurs grow and get their lives back, because so many just drive themselves into the ground for their businesses. And I'm like on a mission to stop that. So I'm a naive person in the way that I believe that we should all get to do exactly what we want to do with our lives and with our careers. And so I've pivoted into making that sort of my full-time thing.
Well done. Yeah. As a business owner, I am often working, from time I get up till I go to bed in the early hours of the morning. So I don't get a lot of sleep, and I've got to try and fit in, my life in the meantime. And I mean, not that I'm complaining, because I love what I do, but it does take up a lot of time. And I am finally starting to get some systems in place. I actually bit the bullet and got a subscription to an accounting software. Something I've never done. I've always done it manually, and because I hate numbers, I just don't keep up to date with it. But I like this system because it actually, anything that it goes in the bank, what comes out of the bank, is registered in the accounting system. So I don't need to worry about that anymore. So that's one system I've put in place, and I'm really proud of myself.
That's awesome. You checked off the money. I love it.
Yeah, we can't survive without money, that's for sure.
You definitely need that. It's an important part of business for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So personal productivity and time management strategies for business owners, includes working from home strategies and why they should use a timer and time blocking and separation of work and personal. How, how do people how can they do that effectively and not feel like they're sacrificing one for the other?
That's a really good question. So a lot of people, when I suggest this, they immediately resist because they feel like they're being boxed in, or sort of like, the reason I started a business was not to be like in this rigid schedule, of like 9 to 5 or whatever it is. And it really isn't about that. It's just about figuring out where your time is going. So one way I like to kind of explain it is, if you were going to decide that you were going to go on a diet, or you wanted to like really work on your budget or something like that, and you went to an expert in that area, a dietitian or financial planner, the first thing they would ask you is, where are you at right now? Like, what are you eating right now? They wouldn't say like, okay, here's your diet plan, go do it, or here's your budget, go do this. They would ask you about where things are going right now. And your time is no different. And so we have to start with figuring out exactly where is your time going? Not where do you wish it's going, or where do you want it to go, or any of those, but what is actually happening during the day? And that does require using a timer. But it does not have to be as, you can just pick one area if that's what you want to do. So you mentioned a few minutes ago that you invested in like a bookkeeping software, which sounds awesome. And, before you made that investment, one strategy you could have used, for example, is just timing yourself on just only dealing with these money related things, right? Then you could actually know like, okay, how much is my time worth? Man, in my time, I'm spending $1,000 a month, and the software is only like $100 a month, or, something like that. You can really be like, wait a minute, this makes sense as an investment and a thing to do with my business at this point.
A lot of people don't invest in their business in that way. They don't think that, getting a subscription to something that will save them time is actually an investment. They look at more at it as a cost.
Yeah. And that's something else. It's like, so this place I used to live across the street, they had a rooftop deck. And I remember being like, man, I really want a rooftop deck one day. That'd be amazing. And then I realized that I work from home. So, I had been out there all times of day, morning, evening, night, different seasons. I lived there multiple years. Not one time did I ever see a single person on this deck. And I finally came to realize it's because these people are working and they have no time to go on this deck. And for whatever reason, it really struck me because it was like so aspirational for me to have this. And it just makes me think all the time, as an entrepreneur, we really undervalue our time. And we forget sometimes that it's not okay to work like 16-hour days, because at the end of the day, like, did you really start a business to kill yourself? Probably not. You probably didn't go, I really want to just like work all the time and like never have time for anybody. Like that would be so great. We generally start a business for freedom, and that's not a very free way of living. Right. So I do think it's really important to really have that separation and to really focus on enjoying your life, even if you do enjoy what you do. I mean, I hope we all enjoy what we do, but that doesn't mean that we should just do that one thing,
Absolutely. You've got to take time to smell the roses and walk barefoot on the grass and all those things. And I'm guilty. I don't do it as often as I should. But man, oh man, do I feel better after I've taken that little bit of time off just for myself. And it's not selfish to do that either. Take time away from family, take time away from your business. You really need to recharge yourself. Otherwise, you're no good to anyone.
No, absolutely. And I like the whole analogy of kind of, put your own oxygen mask on before you put it on your business, your business baby. It's just a really important thing to think about. And there is actually scientific data that supports what you just said about, just kind of taking time to smell the roses. It actually literally boosts your ability to be productive. Like your brain literally functions better. And again, there's like actual scientific studies to back that up. So when we think about like, oh, I'm taking time away from my business to just like go for a walk or something. But what if it gives you 20% more back in productivity for the whole day, the whole afternoon, the whole next day? Wasn't that walk like a true investment in your business, in fact?
Absolutely. It gives you time to like calm your mind and reflect on other things. Um, Sometimes I have my greatest epiphanies at really late at night. That's why I work so early into the morning, because I have my greatest ideas after 11 o'clock at night. Don't ask me why. This is where my brain works. But yeah, so but having that time away, even if it's just having my dinner, I have these great ideas, and so I have to rush back and write them down, otherwise I'll forget them. But yeah, but just having that time away to calm your brain so it's not so business focused all the time is so helpful.
Yeah. And I mean, I would argue that as an entrepreneur, and, whether you're a solopreneur or not, you're the CEO of your business, and a large amount of what you do is make decisions, right? I mean, yes, this, no, that, I'm going to go this direction. I'm going to cut this, I'm going to add this, whatever. And decision making, it turns out, is often like what a lot of people call it their gut or whatever. But what's really happening is your whole brain, your subconscious is starting to engage when you're doing these downtime type activities. So you're actually able to make those decisions in a more intelligent, strategic way if you provide, like, let things just kind of ruminate versus just sitting down at your computer being like, okay, I have to like diagram this out. Sometimes just like letting things go is actually an additional way to help you make that decision in a more productive and faster way.
Absolutely. Your brain, you can only absorb so much information. So, you have to give it a rest from time to time. Otherwise, it's just going to burn out.
Exactly.
Mm. So you have a 5-item system to systemize businesses. And I'm wondering if you'd like to share that with us, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned one of them, which is money. But you also need company mapping, a system for that. And a lot of people think just getting a mission statement down or kind of something along those lines is like, okay, check mark, done. But a lot of times people often actually, I have to ask people like, what's your mission statement? They forget. And just having a mission statement, it doesn't necessarily like mean that you really have a company map together. So, and having an actual system means that you're looking at it on a regular basis and that you're using it as a filter and a litmus test for every single thing you do in your business. Is this aligned with my company map? Is that aligned with my company map? And then marketing is sort of the next thing, right? You need to have money coming in, as we already talked about, but having an actual systematized approach, not just throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping for the best, but really like tracking data. And again, that goes back to time, right? If you're spending your resources, whether that's time, whether that's someone else's time, whether that's your money, you want to know what the ROI is on that. And then management. So this would come to personal productivity as the entrepreneur, managing your team if you have one. And then money, of course, we just talked about that. Making sure that your own finances as the entrepreneur are dialed in, that you are really have a handle on that in addition to the business. A lot of times entrepreneurs focus on the business, but they forget their own personal finances. And that can actually end up bringing down the business, right? Because the entrepreneur has to eat.
Yes.
And then what I like to call marry customers, but basically customer fulfillment, whether you're a product business or a service-based business, but making sure that your workflow is extremely dialed in. The process is smooth, not just for your customers, but for you, right? You're not always searching for things, that you really have a truly systematized approach for that. So making sure all 5 of these aspects are like truly optimized and kind of running like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, my next process is actually writing down all my processes, step by step, so that when I eventually hire a team, then I can just hand that over to the team members, and they can just go for it. But it's something that I've resisted doing, because it is very time consuming, and but in the long run, it's better for your business, even for the owner, if they have their processes written out. I mean, when I used to own a business previously, it was a food retail business, I had processes and procedures written down in a book for the staff.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to write it, but I was always, even when I worked for other people in corporate, I was always writing down processes and procedures. But now that I have my own business, I have let that drop off. And it's really bad management on my part not to have that, because sometimes as the owner, you still forget sometimes a certain step, or you bypass it and think it's not important. But in the long run, if you've bypassed a certain step, it could be one of the most crucial steps in the whole thing. And so it's always good to have them written down, so even just to refresh your own memory.
Yeah, I can't agree with you enough in terms of, if you are a solopreneur and it's just you absolutely still need SOPs. Like, you still need standard operating procedures. Not even just because hopefully you can hire someone for certain roles, but as you said, like, you want to make sure that you're doing things and you're not forgetting steps, but also that you're doing it the same way every time. So this customer isn't having a different experience from that customer, and so on and so forth. Just recently, one of my clients was like, I think I just realized I need an SOP for like posting on social media. And I was like, yes, you do. Because it really does make it faster as well at the more you do this, because you're not ever making decisions. You know, the decisions are only being made at crucial points when there really should be a decision being made. When you're trying to figure out which is my brand color, this green or that green or something like that, like, you shouldn't be making that decision. It should be in your SOP.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, I need to, another thing I need to do is make up a brand kit, so that when I do hire a team, that everyone's on the same page, so that, you know, the colors are the same, fonts are the same, and, you know, logos are all the same. And yeah, it's something that we should all be doing. And yeah, so it's a good reminder to myself to get those things in place. Jenae, have you written a book on any of these processes?
So I don't have a book out, but I do have like multiple freebie options that people can use. I have a workbook available. It's called my 9-minute scheduling system. And this is something that people can use to set your schedule up and set your week up for success. And it really allows you to ask you prompted questions to help you actually think about where your time is going and where you should focus on optimizing processes. I mean, we all want a fully optimized business that runs by itself and we're asleep and whatnot, but that's just not real life for most people. And you're not going to go from 0 to, you know, optimize. So that sort of process helps you figure out, okay, you know what? Money is where I should focus my energy. Maybe I need to, you know, find some sort of like tool like what you found. Just focus on that, right? And then once you start getting that optimized, you can focus on something else. So that system really helps you work through that process on a step-by-step basis.
Yeah, sounds really good. I might have to go and have a look at that.
Yeah.
Any help that I can get is better than no help at all.
Yeah. No, it's a really good process. I have a lot of people using it. It's really helped them out a lot. And anybody that's interested, I'll share the link. And then you can also go to freedoersnetwork.com, and that workbook is included there as well, along with some additional help for those types of processes.
Oh, absolutely. Excellent. Jenae, what sort of systems would you suggest as a startup that people get in place?
Honestly, the easiest one to look at, in my opinion, is email. And I just suggest that because that's like 99% of people's like Achilles heel, that they're just sitting there refreshing the email all the time. I do talk to some people that have issues with like, you know, social media and scrolling, but that's sort of an everybody person issue. But in terms of your business, getting an email system together, how often do you check your email? How many times are you going to be replying to email? Most people think that email needs to be replied to significantly faster than it actually does. You'd be surprised the number of people in this world that we've gotten to the point we're all using email like instant messaging, you know, like 5 words or 1 sentence, or you think of a question and then you send it. Sometimes by creating space and really optimizing your email, I like to batch. I reply to email about twice a week, unless it's like, you know, something's burning down type thing, then I will reply that day. But that way you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh, never mind, I figured this out. and you actually just eliminate those emails. So that's honestly the system I would look at. So that would be part of my management system, but that personal productivity aspect. So yeah, email, and then also just using a timer and starting to time block, even if they're very, very general time blocks.
Yeah, that was my next question about blocking and chunking.
Yeah, so
do we have should we have a desk calendar, a mat that's, about A3 size on our desks, and blocking out time every week for certain tasks?
So if you are a paper person, absolutely. I used to be a solidly paper person, and I had to just sort of finally let it go. I use Google Calendar. That's my like go-to, but you can use anything. And the one thing I would say is if you are interested in optimizing your time and really, really getting back more of your day, the best thing you can do is start time blocking in a flexible way. So for example, even just having your morning time block, from like 9 to 12. And during that time, you're going to do like one of these 4 aspects of your business, one of these 4 tasks, whatever it is. And then in the afternoon, you're going to do one of these 3 things, right? So it could be that flexible, just 2 time blocks per day. The worst thing you can do is the opposite, which is from 9 a.m. to like 9:13 a.m., I'm going to do this. And then from 9:13 to like 9:26, I'm going to do this. And you're going to spend way more time planning than you do actually executing anything. And you're going to be wrong about 98% of the time. So starting flexible and then figuring out how accurate that is, and then kind of honing it in from there.
That's a good point. Yeah, I did a training course some years ago where they actually advise that you block out, certain periods of the day, from 9 till 12 to do certain tasks, and then you always book in a lunch break. And that's what she advised. Always book in a lunch break, and don't ever not take the lunch break.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking at my calendar right here, and it says lunch and workout from like 11 to like 1. Like I have a workout and go to lunch, and it's like on my calendar, cannot be moved, cannot be adjusted, so that it doesn't get overridden, because that's another thing that happens as entrepreneurs. Like I'm in the flow. I just want to keep working on this, and then you keep going through your lunch break.
So you suggest maybe the Pomodoro method, or?
I do like the Pomodoro method. I think it depends on what you're working on. So, some people prefer to have deep work periods of time, where they're working for an hour or something like that at a time. Other people, depending on what they're working on, once about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, they already start to kind of like get distracted, looking here, looking there, like maybe I should check my email. If you're that person, then I definitely recommend just setting the timer to do, 25 minutes and 5-minute break. But, if you are somebody that likes to be in the flow of something, then absolutely shut things down and do something like 55 minutes and then take a 5-minute break or 10-minute break or something like that. But it's really just, I always like to say self-awareness is your best productivity tool, because it really just depends on the person and how they react to the thing they're working on. Certain things like would make me want to take a break every 10 minutes. And maybe for you, you're like, oh, I could be in the flow for like an hour. You just have to know yourself, but just be intentional about your time. That's really the key, is making sure that you're not just getting in the flow and then now you spent your whole day on one single thing because you were in the flow and you've neglected all these other things. And maybe now like those things are going to become fires in your business because you neglected them completely.
Yeah. Good idea, and a good point too. It depends on the individual, and some methods work for some and don't work for others. So don't, I guess, tie yourself into something just because someone says that it's a really good idea.
Exactly.
Jenae, when can people find you if they'd like to know more or to work with you?
Yeah, so you can go to doerentrepreneurs.com, or like I said, Free Doers Network will take you to my free off social media community. That community I'm in there helping you. It also has multiple, like I said, freebies. It's got free webinars in there, free downloadable tools, all kinds of good stuff. So I do recommend joining that. And then if you have any questions, you can always just post in there and ask me and I will help you out.
Oh, perfect. Before we go today, have you got anything that you'd like to share, or some words of wisdom?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest piece of advice I just want to give everybody is to remember that you are your VIP client. Whether you're in product or service, remember that if you do not take care of your business, it will not succeed. So always remember that you are your VIP client. I see people blocking out time for their clients, but then when they block out time to work on their business and not just in it, they just bowl right over it and just ignore it completely, or like the lunch break. And you cannot do that. Just like your clients are relying on you, your business is relying on you too. So please block out some time every week to work on your business, to work on your systems, to work on your strategies, and make that sacred time. So
yeah, make sure that you make time for yourself somewhere during the week. No,
yes.
Don't just leave it for the weekends, because it's very important. Very important. Jenae, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
No problem. Great. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.